Hello, and welcome back to Tiny Artist TV. If you've seen this screen before, you already know what's up, what's about to go down, but for those of you who may be new, clicking on my channel for the first time, clicking on this video just on happenstance, this is part of an ongoing series that I started 2 years ago at this point called the Color Palette Challenge, where I have taken the 115 color palettes that I have amassed over my hoarding habit of liking shiny things and colors and trying to create characters out of all of those. Now, as you can see here, there's not 115. That's because this is the condensed version. About halfway through, I took the ones that I had already finished and smushed them down into a smaller list. And now we're left with just 12 out of 115. Claps for me. There are a couple that I need to go back and redo, but making progress. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and draw the 5 for today's grouping, because we're down to group number 2 out of the 3 groups of 5, and then the last 2, as I mentioned in the last video, are going to be rolled into the first video of the Art Blocks art tutorial series. So let's see what we have for today's color palettes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, first one is number 16, and that is Berry Gum. Alright, a nice dark color palette. I'm doing a lot of pastels. It's nice to break it up every once in a while. Next up is number 38, which is Mango Sunrise. Oh, that's so pretty. That gradient might be a little tricky to work with, but I'll make it work. I always do. Unless I don't. But I always do. So the next one is number 23, Summer Girl. I have used this one before. It was in the Animal Abominations video, and I think it was, I don't remember what I combined, but it was an abomination, alright. So maybe I'll make something pretty with it this time. And then number 27, Rhubarb. Another pretty one. It's kind of like it's giving really like cottagecore, sort of like woodsy. I like it. I mean, of course I like all the ones I've saved, but like some I like more than others. And the last one for today's grouping is number 19, Orange Juice. So we got Orange Juice and Mango Sunrise and Rhubarb and Berry Gum. So I think you know what's about to happen here. But let's go ahead and get started with the drawings. Again, for those of you who are new here, within the Color Palette Challenge, I've been doing a sort of a mini series, if you will, of what I've been calling Candy Girl Fighters. And this goes all the way back to character number 3, and they've been sprinkled in throughout this 115 character creation challenge. And now we get to have a whole video devoted just to Candy Girl creations. Isn't it a sweet time to be alive? That was so bad. But anyway, yeah, so the Candy Girls are just kind of a specific style of character that I've been doing as the color palettes will it. And considering that, with the exception of Summer Girl, these are all named after some sort of sweet or food, I just figured it was so appropriate. Now, as far as the creation process of these characters, I've once again cut out the introductory fluff of doing the sketch, and then once I did the third character, I realized, oh, maybe that's actually more interesting than you guys watching me do the line art, actually seeing me come up with these character designs, and then I can cut out the line art instead. So I'll do that for the next video, but for now, with the exception of one character, we're just skipping straight to the line art and then getting straight into the coloring from there to, since this is a 5 character video, make these as short as possible for, you know, the TikTokification of attention spans that has happened. So now that I'm almost done with the line art, I guess I'll go ahead and talk about the character. Well, this character's color palette name is Berry Gum, and I mean, you can look at the colors and see what the inspiration is, but my thinking behind this overall character design, so each Candy Girl, their either their outfit or their weapons are supposed to be evocative of their namesake. So my first thought was, okay, well, what weapon looks like a stick of gum? And then I thought of the Bustard Sword, which of course is, you know, Cloud's signature weapon, but there have been other iterations thereafter. And so I give her a bubblegum pink double-sided Bustard Sword. Very heavy, very impractical, but is it cool? Meh. So yeah, anyway, the rest of the character design is basically centered around berry clusters of some sort, like blueberries and raspberries, and especially her hair, the puffs are supposed to look like little raspberry clusters. And then certain other elements like the piping on her shirt and then the sort of piping along her pants is supposed to kind of look like stretched gum. Most berry gum I've seen comes in cubes, but I wanted to, like, you know, give a classic gum look to the pink parts. So that is the first one, berry gum. Then we're moving on to Mango Sunrise. This one was a little more ambiguous to design. I actually went through several different iterations of this character before I was finally happy with the sketch that I'm working on now. And so, like, that's again part of why I cut out the sketching process, because sometimes it takes me several passes, and just getting to the line art, you can see the final product that I'm working on. So I don't know, I guess it just depends on which character, like whether I do more sketches or if it's just a one and done. But anyway, Mango Sunrise, I wanted this to be a cleric class character, and there's actually going to be two more, I guess, well, one cleric for sure. The other one is a little more ambiguous, but a more magic-focused class and a more healing-focused class than a fighter or arsenal-focused class like most of the other Candy Girls are. And simply because I don't have a lot of clerics and a lot of healers or magic-based Candy Girls in my lineup, save for the first one that I did, which was Strawberry Lemonade, which was like months and months ago back during the live streams. And so these colors were easy to make into sort of like a more magic based character because of the gradient. It's already giving rainbow, it's giving just generic magical girl. But I took a little bit of inspiration from Mango's origins, and I do that with a couple of the other characters as well to sort of help me decide what to do with the fruits, especially because mangoes are so, like, they're just round, and normally when you think of a mango you think of like a orangey red, but there are actually violet mangoes, which are called Miyazaki mangoes, and they're native to Japan. And actually mangoes get their origin closer to Southeast Asia, but since Mexico is one of the largest importers of mangoes current day, so I wanted to give her some Central American sort of trappings. The little, I guess we'll call it a mid-waist, or I guess an empire waist belt is supposed to be evocative of the lace garland that you see around Dia de los Muertos, and then her just her overall outfit, the ruffles at the top are sort of like evocative of traditional Mexican and Central American dresses, and so it's just kind of like subtle nods. Now, the only other kind of hiccup I ran into was representing the mango because they are just like a little like blorb of a fruit. And so all of the ovals, like the ovals that are in her swords and in her boots and her earrings and on her choker, are supposed to be evocative of the mango. And then her magic, the 6 different orbs that she has, which each one of them, you know, being one of the colors from the color palette, are also supposed to be sort of like mango-y. And I had played around at one point with different shapes of mango, like the little like half moon crescent mango slices, and then I was like, well, I already have enough going on here. I think that's adding too much, and so I cut those out. This character overall, she is part of the Candy Girls lineup, but I don't know if I can confidently say that she looks like traditionally like a candy girl like the other ones do, because it's harder for her to read as fruit. But this is Mango Sunrise. Character number 3 in today's lineup is Summer Girl, and I took a couple days to ruminate on what type of candy girl this would be. Like, literally doing research into like summer candies, and then Google was so kind as to feed me saltwater taffy. And the references that I pulled up are like, they were just perfect, serendipitously perfect for the color palette that I had to work with. And with, you know, the color palette being named Summer Girl, like, you think of the beach, you think of water, so saltwater taffy. I don't know why it took me so long to even, like, I didn't think of it. It was fed to me through my Google searching. So character number 3 is a saltwater taffy Summer Girl, and this is probably, energy-wise, out of the characters that I did for this video, my favorite one, because she is just so small and so angry. I love her. She's just like spunky, and I done like a very like basic first pass of the character, and then I was like, okay, I have the idea established. How can I pose this character? How can I push this character? And so I just have her in this like little flying kick type thing with her batons. They're supposed to be devil sticks, like the juggling stick things or whatever. My main thing was I just wanted to have a lot of surfaces to put the different saltwater taffy features on, and so that is this basically like how I decided how to color this character. Was I looked at my reference and then I just pulled those patterns onto the character reference and sort of colored it in a similar fashion, but not exactly like a one-to-one. But yeah, that is character number 3. This one was really quick because like I think this was actually the first one that I worked on, and it was basically like from concept to execution, just a straight line. So yeah, that's character number 3, Summer Girl, my saltwater taffy baton. I don't know, she feels kind of roguey, but maybe a mini barbarian. But anyway, that's her. Character number 4 for today's video has the color palette Rhubarb, and once you're able to see my references on screen, you can see that it's pretty much, again, a pretty nice one-to-one of color palette to name. But anyway, this character is our second cleric for the video, but as you can see, she's more of a witch than a traditional cleric, and that is because I was thinking, well, the heroes have all these healers. What about the villain characters? So this is a villain healer, and while she does have some healing magic, she also has the ability to do hexes on the other characters. And so she is pretty much solely a magic casting character versus the other clerics. They have their staves and whatnot. They have weapons and things like that. Her staff has a dagger at the end. The rhubarb root is supposed to look something like a dagger. But yeah, so this is very obviously a rhubarb witch. And even though when you think of rhubarb, you think of the stalk that you see here on my reference next to the strawberries. I saw the rhubarb leaves and I immediately thought I have to incorporate the leaves into part of this, not just because those are colors that I have on my palette, but they're just these big, gorgeous, like commanding, like just big, fluffy, sturdy leaves. And so I used that to make her skirt and the back of the staff, which she could obviously just whack somebody with. So that's character number 4, my hex cleric Rhubarb. Our final character for today's video has the color palette Orange Juice, and not unlike the mango character, I did a little looking into like, okay, well, where do oranges actually come from? And it's not where I thought. Oranges originally come from like Southeast Asia, more specifically in the southeastern Himalayan foothill regions, the eastern India, and Myanmar and Yunnan. And so I made this character Southeast Asian, but it's kind of like a blending, and hopefully it's an inoffensive blending, but I wanted to do a Hanfu, but I wanted to do sort of like a streetwear version of the Hanfu, because all of the girls have this sort of like sort of like a more modernized, I don't know, I'll have to figure it, like, it's really solidified the overall aesthetic of everybody, because everyone's costumes are really different. But I knew for this character, because of where the orange comes from, I wanted to do a Hanfu style dress. And even though Hanfu are specific to the Han period in China, specific to China in general, because China is one of the places that was listed where oranges come from, I wanted to incorporate that into the design, because I really like the way the clothing looks. Because I was finding a lot of like really pretty, light, springy, flowy dresses from this particular region, and I just thought that it would be like a really nice application of these colors, because they are so like close. The oranges are like different enough, but they're also sort of close, but just this like very light, beautiful springtime palette. I don't know why I named it Orange Juice, because there's a literal purple and pink in this color palette, but it made sense at the time, so I had to make it make sense for this character. Initially, the little crane type birds, and I call them crane type because they're not really like super accurate, the crane type birds were supposed to be a placeholder, and I was going to do something a little more elaborate, but as I was working on this video, I ended up getting a little bit of a cold, and of course that zapped my energy, so I was like, you know what, it's good enough for government work, I'll come back to this later and redo this character if I feel like it. But I am overall like happy with the character design and the color placement of everything. I definitely could have done a little more of like embroidery and things like that, but I think for the purpose of, again, these effectively being sort of character sketches, colored character sketches, I think I did enough for her. And this is also, I forgot to mention her character class, this is the third cleric in today's video. And I figured, you know, orange juice, it's good for you, it's got vitamin C, she should probably be a healer class character. And her weapon is the double-bladed scythe, and so not unlike the Strawberry Lemonade character that I did, who was inspired by Adelie, the Harvest Cleric. This one is more of a Harvest Cleric in the literal sense, considering the double-bladed scythe. So that is character number 3, Orange Juice. I didn't do too much extra, I just added a little bit of shading and a little bit of extra detail, but and then some markings across her face to just sort of push that this is a more fantasy amalgamation than a historically accurate amalgamation. But yes, that is it for today's characters. As always, thanks for tuning in if you made it this far, and I hope you have enjoyed this next installment in the Color Palette Challenge. There is only one more new character Color Palette Challenge video coming down the pipeline, and then anything after that is going to be the makeup work videos, and then of course the last 2 color palettes that are left over are going to be part of the Art Blocks series. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, have a weird day.